Hey, what's up? I'm your host Mike Pugh of the FPC Virtual Channel, and y'all guys and gals are gonna be due for something really awesome. As you can see, this is a character that I came up with. I came up with it with the tool known as the MakeHuman Community. It is really an awesome tool. The previous version of it was known as MakeHuman, and it stems from a long line of experienced 3D modelers and 3D artists around the planet who actually create these model type characters, as well as they create all of the differing assets for us, and it's tied into one individual package today. If you want to get that package, you most definitely can get it. It's from the MakeHuman Community software and from the community itself, where they give you tons of different things that you can utilize, you can play with. If y'all folks want to get these videos, feel free to smash the bell icon so you can get much more than meets the eye. And this is the stuff that I love to do. I have fun with it. I am a noob with it, but I'm pretty much versed on how to do add-ons, Blender add-ons. If y'all folks want to learn how to get this software, this video is for you. You can get the add-ons, you can get all of the differing steps. There's tons of differing things that I have to offer in this video for those who are brand new to Blender. So that would be the reason why you're gonna watch the whole entire video. I swear you will be blown out the ocean what you can do after you watch it. If you don't know how to do anything in 3D, this will even give you and gear you into 3D to get started without even having any 3D knowledge, because the Blender community has tons of tutorial videos out there. Y'all folks can follow those. And also the MakeHuman Community has tons of videos out there as well to help you to be able to get these type of characters up and running. But this video itself will get you and gear you there without you even having the basic skills on Blender. It's not really that hard. Blender has a viewport, so if y'all folks want to learn the Blender viewport and stuff like that, I can lead y'all folks to videos from gurus who are really good at it. I can also create my own videos just to guide you into the viewport controls. And once you get the viewport controls, then you can merge into doing other things. Like you can gear yourself into understanding the render engine. You can gear yourself into moving through the collections, which these collections are just 3D objects that are part of your scene. You have your options over here for your properties. You'll learn how to understand the properties, how to move in and out of differing properties, and control what's in your viewport for your 3D objects, because these are your controls for individual items in your 3D viewport of Blender. A good example would be up here. This is the active tool and workspace. I don't use this much, but you can utilize it for certain things. This is brand new to Blender 2.80 beta. Then you have up here, you have the controls for render. You can go in and change your render engine's controls. You can render in Eevee, Workbench, or Cycles. It defaults to Eevee. And what's the difference? Well, Eevee is much more powerful as an actual render, I would say, game engine, and it does real-time rendering. That's what I mean by the power itself. It's much more powerful in terms of real-time. So it gives you real-time rendering. If you go into Cycles, Cycles is going to refresh and try to run samples. The difference is that the actual visual output that you're going to get from the render is going to look better if you're using Cycles, because it's more photorealistic. If you switch over to Eevee, Eevee is going to look more game-like. So if you're doing game-ready stuff, I highly recommend for you to try to use Eevee to play with it and have fun with the render, which will give you what you're looking for the game-ready stuff. If you're trying to get like some sort of photography type of setup or videography type of setup, film type of setup, I highly recommend for you to go with Cycles. Now if you're just building the process and you're building a project up, then you might want to use Eevee because you're building it and developing it. But if you want to output a product, you want to get an output of a product, Cycles is one of the best render options to go with. You can also use the Workbench, and Workbench will speed past a lot of the process as well, because now that is more for like the modeling side. So if you're just modeling and you're set here at the shading render option, then modeling, you'll move faster. because you're not going to have to render multiple times through cycles and stuff like that. So here goes the workbench. It's kind of flat. It doesn't have much in it, and it renders even faster than Eevee. Eevee gives you all of this stuff, but Workbench gives you nothing basically. So you just work this out as a modeler. Even your shading isn't working in this area too much. A lot of things are not showcased. So some people will actually model everything out first, get their scene set up, and then they'll switch over and then pop in Eevee just to see what it looks like. And if they want to get a finished product, they'll hop over to cycles. So that's that part. So other than that, you're going to learn all of these differing things to some degree, slowly but surely, as you go along, trying to learn from multiple video tutorials. But in my particular video tutorial, you're going to learn how to get the software that created her, and also you'll be able to build up the knowledge base as to how to make add-ons function for you, so that your Blender add-ons will be fully functional for this particular software and through Blender 2.80 beta. Not all the add-ons are functional, but this particular add-on, MakeHuman, the MakeHuman Community add-on, is working. The MHX2 runtime is partially working. It's not working in full effect all the way. So stay tuned, and hopefully y'all folks will like the video. I'll see you in a video. What's up, guys and gals? I'm your host Mike P of the FPC Virtual Channel, and you're tuning into an actual Blender 2.80 beta series that includes the MakeHuman Community Alpha 2 version. And if y'all folks never heard of the MakeHuman Community or the MakeHuman software that they came up with initially, this video is for you, and hopefully you can learn as much as possible as to how this thing works and what you can do with it. Pretty much it's a character generator tool, and I'll show you how it actually looks in terms of the recent update. So the recent update gives you the ability to take characters and you can pose them automatically in terms of importing poses, playing around, and you can get clothes, you can get hair, you can get all kinds of differing things that didn't come with the previous versions of MakeHuman. And in terms of the character build, this is a character modeling tool or 3D avatar of a human modeling tool. You can go in and pretty much model your humans without having to sculpt your humans. It gives you the base mesh, and then you go in and you do the modeling. You can play around with all the differing options that are available, and you can pretty much come up with something that looks realistic and something that looks cool for maybe your video games, if you want to create video games, if you have that idea in the future or a goal in mind to become a game developer, or maybe you want to create animated videos, movies, films, stuff like that, and you want to learn animation. You can start out with these characters and get on Blender. So let's move over to Blender real quick. Here goes my character model on Blender, which had one of the poses set up and moved over, but it does have a little issues with the actual mesh. So the mesh kind of messed up, I think, as the bones probably didn't land in the right place. If you don't know anything about 3D modeling, what I recommend for you to do is look up how a 3D model is created. And also, if you don't know anything about animation, learn about that. It's really important if you want to get into this arena. Rigging is important to know, so RIGGING, rigging is really key. Many different things are key for you to understand. Now, this video is not about helping y'all folks to learn 3D in general or the basics to 3D. It's to introduce this tool to those who are brand new to it and to understand how it's upgraded to the level that it's at. So in the previous versions of the MakeHuman tool, it was known as MakeHuman. It wasn't known as the MakeHuman Community. And the reason being is because the previous version only gave you limited support and limited capabilities. It didn't have what is known as a community tab, which gives you more things that you can do. If I go into the socket, y'all guys and gals are going to see the server communications and the connections that are tied in together, which are the newer update for the MakeHuman Community tool, which gives you more capabilities and power. So let me show y'all folks real quick. I'm going to go to material, and let's see if we click update list. It should update for material. So now I can go in and I can apply this type of material to the material options that they have. I can apply anything that shows up on the screen pretty much. Some things don't show up for some reason. I'm not sure why. It's not 100% in terms of every little detail working. Like if I want alien eyes, I can go to these different options here, and I can go to download, and that downloads and goes into the materials where all the eyes are sitting at. So that's pretty dope, right? One thing you have to do is keep in mind the licensing that they have here. This particular license is CC0. It's by Hat SHJ, and a CC0 license means it's a Creative Commons license. It's in the public domain, so you don't have to give credit if you don't want to. A CC BY license, that means that you have to give credit. So these are the kind of things that you have to do. You have to check into what type of licensing you have in order to use this type of stuff. So if you want to use it for commercial purposes in a video game or in any of the content that you chose to put up, you would have to go by the particular licenses here, which are 2 different licensing types. You can type in CC-BY on Google, and that's what I recommend for y'all folks to do in order to find out what the type of license is and how it details and what you should do to satisfy the requirements for that particular license. So hopefully y'all understand that stuff. I'll be covering licensing and copyright laws and things like that in the future. So this right here, I'm scrolling through just to get to more stuff. It may not, like I said, go to certain ones, or I'm not sure what it will do depending on what you click. Sometimes some things function, some things don't. But it's better than not having anything starting out, and it's most definitely better than the default stuff, which I'll show you from geometries here. You go to close, and a lot of this stuff is default, meaning that it comes with MakeHuman, but it's not much. I added the stockings, I added the starship uniform here, I added the sports bra, I added Vader boots, I added the wetsuit, t-shirt, the stockings. What else did I add? I also added up here the cape. I added, let's see, the combat boots and this skirt here. Oh, and the mini dress. All of that I added through this community area. If you hop out of it, it may shift it all the way to the right, so you have to shift it to the left to get it back. Sometimes it took me a little while to figure that out, so, and sometimes I might forget. So you may forget stuff or whatever. Now, no matter what it is, you can go in and you can go and try to get these differing things. And like I said, click the update list in order to update it. The other thing is, when you first start out, you're gonna think maybe like you went from the alpha version 1 to alpha version 2. You're probably gonna say to yourself, oh, I gotta synchronize again, but you really don't. You just have to click update list, and that will avoid from you crashing your MakeHuman Community software multiple times. By clicking synchronize, if you do that too many times, it will keep crashing. So to avoid that, just click update list. You don't even have to connect the socket to get it to re-update after you did it the first time. And it tells you here that all you have to do is do it once. So the only time you're going to synchronize again is if you want to check for future stuff to see if they added more things, but you don't have to worry about that. I would do it in version 1, alpha 1, and then come back to alpha 2 and hit the update list, and it should work well. So you have differing versions. 1.2.0 alpha 1 is the first iteration of this MakeHuman Community type of upgrade. So like I said, this community tab is the addition. Everything else is the same pretty much, and you also now have the ability to auto migrate and auto import. So let me show y'all folks what I mean. So with this character on Blender, what I'm gonna do is delete this guy. I'll just delete everything. I don't care. Everything in my viewport. Select all, delete. I'm not worried about what's in here. And what I'm gonna do is go to the mesh area. So you have to be in this mesh tab. I'm gonna go down and click import. So keep in mind, it's gonna import based on a particular Blender unit size. And right now I'm in the cycles render. You can hop around from one render engine to the next render engine, but I recommend for you to use cycles if you're using this particular MakeHuman Community character build, because cycles will give you the best render. I tried it out with Eevee and it doesn't really look that great, So that's why I switched to cycles. Also, you want to switch the CPU to GPU compute, and that way you can compute out of your render using your GPU, which generally is going to give you the highest rendering capability without you having many computer freezes or slowdowns. So the pixels is going to come out looking much better. Okay, so I just wanted to add a little part to this rendering side if you want to change that actual part for the render. Oh, we got to go to cycles. Sorry about that. I switched to Eevee for a second. So with cycles, it's the only way that it works. So you go to from CPU to GPU compute like I showed, and then go to edit, go to preferences, which used to be known as user preferences, now it's known as Blender preferences. You go there, and then you're gonna go to general. Make sure you switch cycles compute device to CUDA, and then if it's not defaulted here, switch it to CUDA, and then go to GeForce GTX, whatever type of graphics card you have. So that way when you switch over from CPU to GPU, you get the right output. And that's about it. Oh, make sure you save preferences too. Saving preferences is essential, or else when you restart the computer, it's not going to work the same way. It will default back to wherever it was at. Higher quality is going to take less time, things like that. So other than that, let's move on to get y'all folks the tool. So we're going to bounce back over here. Now this part of the video is going to cover where to download and how to get it downloaded. So what you want to do is go to the MakeHumanCommunity.org, and eventually it's going to lead you to this wiki release page. Let's go to that just to show y'all folks. And over here you're going to click this link. It's going to send you to this page. Then you're going to go down where it says where to download, and then from there you're going to go and you're going to click on download the Windows build here. When you click that on, you're going to go and save it. Click OK. It's going to download to your computer, and you're going to wait until it comes up. Once it comes up, you're going to right click it and then go to containing folder, and wherever it sent it to, it's going to bring you to it. So that's one of the things it does. So we're not going to wait for it. I'm going to go ahead of it, and I'm going to go open containing folder. This is essential for those who are brand new to doing these types of things in terms of file extractions, Blender add-ons, things like that. So this particular phase is to get you the software itself in order to run MakeHuman Community on your computer. We got version 1.2.0 Alpha 2. So how do you know that? It's because it says here MakeHuman Community Alpha 2. If you get the version Alpha 1, then the Blender add-on for Blender 2.80 will not function and will not work. This one is for Blender 2.79b, pretty much. Alright, so keep that in mind. And this one is the most stable one in terms of it works for Blender 2.79b, and most of the functionality works, and it's very stable. This one is not that stable for Blender 2.80 because Blender 2.80 is brand new, and it's not in its full effect in terms of it working 100%. Plus this Alpha 2 version is not fully worked out yet. So you may experience multiple issues, things like that. They talk about it up here. It says known issues section. You can go to known issues section and then submit feedback. Right here it says providing feedback and bug reports. You can do that. And it says this means that things will behave strangely. So sometimes you're going to have some issues like I had, where the mesh has some issues and stuff like that when you're trying to do imports and you're trying to do pose updates and stuff like that directly on Blender. Keep that in mind. You're going to have those type of things going on. Just don't get frustrated. Just roll through it, and hopefully it'll work out for you. So what we're going to do is go back to that folder. This was the folder here, the 1.2.0 Alpha 2 Win32. So what we're going to do is right click it, and we're going to extract it to our actual download section, or what I recommend for you to do besides doing that, because that's going to kind of get you lost in terms of when you're trying to do the add-on. We're going to send this by moving it to our desktop. This is what I recommend for a brand new person who's new to Blender. If you're new to Blender and you want to learn add-ons, do this right here. So move your folder to your desktop. And for those who are obviously veterans at it, they already know how to do it. what we're aiming to do is to get the add-on MakeHuman MH_community plugin. Eventually we're going to get that one. All of that stuff is going to be able to be added. We're not going to do that yet, but you will get the plugin / add-on. What we're doing is trying to get the software at this very moment. So now you're going to look over here for that particular folder that you sent, and it should be here. Let's right click, and yes, this is the one. So you could right click it just to see what it is if you're not sure. This one, MH_community, I'm going to show y'all that directly after I show you how to get this one. So we're going to right click it, go to extract all. When you extract it, what it does, it opens up the zip folder. So if you never unzip the folder, now you know how to do it. You just right click and go to extract all, or you use a file extraction software. So it says copying 7 items, replace the files in destination. So let's do that because I already got it. I'm not worried about it. It's going to replace the files that are already there, the ones that I already did, which is a folder up here. So I'm just showing y'all folks the process that I had to do in order to get the software on my computer. So you got to wait a little while. It's going to take not really that long, depends on your computer. And then you're going to get this here. So you're going to double click it, and it's going to try to download onto your computer. So just run through that computer setup, and once it's done, you're going to go to your start menu, and you're going to run it off of here. And for some reason it came up like that. In order to run it off of here, you can double click it, obviously, just like any other program, and this is the only way to actually start it. Now if you want to move like a toolbar here, like I got little toolbar icon, and if you want to send it to your start menu for your Windows start menu, you can do that, and those work as well. But other than that, it does not run from here. This is what they talked about on the actual wiki page, and so if you want to read that stuff, that's up to you. But I'm giving y'all folks a heads up as to the limitation to this link or this icon for your software to run, for the MakeHuman Community software. So if you want to do that, you right click and then pin to start, and then go to more and pin the taskbar, and then you should be straight. You should be good to get it in multiple places. I don't believe you could put a shortcut on here on your desktop, because I tried it and it didn't work. Other than that, once you double click it, it brings you in, and you start from this file section, and this guy is going to be nude, and he's going to be a base mesh. He's not going to be well defined. So if you want to make him well defined, you got to go in and do modeling and change every little detail. And I'll do a separate video on the modeling and geometries, materials, poses, things like that. I'll do a separate video for y'all folks who are brand new, who want to learn how to do this. Most definitely drop me a comment if you're new to this stuff and you're interested in learning much more. And if you have any issues through the steps and procedures, just write some comments if you are having issues, and I can help y'all folks through whatever procedures that you're trying to get done. So other than that, that's that part, and it should be running on your computer at this very moment if you went through the steps properly. So now what we want to do is get this MH_community actual plugin. That particular one is a really good plugin, and it will work on Blender 2.80 beta, but it will not work if you go through here. If you go through that actual unzip folder that you just got for the MakeHuman Community software, and you try to go into Blender plugins, you'll see they have the MH_community, and they have many other ones. They have this MHX2 for Blender 2.80 and 2.79. They also have the Make Close and Make Target. This particular one does not work if you try to get it for Blender 2.80. So how do you get it? Let's go over here, and what you got to do is, what I recommend for you to do is try to bookmark this once you get it running. So you go to the GitHub location that says MakeHuman Community Plugins Assets, and you click this. I already showed it in another video, but pretty much I want to detail it on how to do it. So you go here where it says MakeHuman Community, and then from there you're going to scroll down a little bit to the MakeHuman plugin for Blender. It should say for Blender 2.80, but it doesn't. So you go there, and all of these files is what you want. it's going to give you all the files. If you click this one that says Blender Source MH Community, you won't be able to download it. See that? There's no download option. So you go back and just click clone or download here and go to download zip, and then you got a chance to save it. So you go to save, it saves as a zip folder just like the other zip folder, and then you got to get it from your, whether you're using Google Chrome or Firefox, you got to get it from your downloads. So you go right click, open containing folder, and now this particular folder, what you want to do is extract it, right? And just like the other one, you want to go into it. So extract all, go to extract. I'm just going to do this on my actual download section because I already did it before multiple times. So what you want to do now is go into MakeHuman Community plugin for Blender Master, double click it, and then you're going to go into Blender Distribution folder, the subfolder, double click that, and there it goes right here. So this is a little tricky for those who are brand new to it. Sometimes this is not going to be zipped. So if it's not zipped, you just right click it, and then you go to, well, click on it first, right click it, and go to send to, and then compress zip folder. If that's the case, if you see it's not zipped. If it is zipped, all you got to do is take it and copy it and move it over to your desktop if you don't have it on your desktop. So it's easier for you to find it when you're trying to add it on Blender. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go to Blender. Now, how does Blender add-ons work? How do you add add-ons on Blender? Let's go to Blender. We're going to go to the edit area for us to access the user preferences, which is now renamed preferences. So you go to preferences, and mine's is actually hidden. So if you have it sent down to your desktop, it's going to be hidden behind all the other menus. So you got to go down and pull it up there. If you never ran it before, then it will pop up as a pop-up. And I'll show you again. Go to edit, preferences, and now it pops up. We're going to hide it or go anywhere else. If you click anywhere else, it will auto hide. And then let's go to edit and hit preferences, and now it doesn't show up. So this is why you got to go down here and pop it out. So now it's up. You want to click on add-ons. It's going to be defaulted either, I think, to interface or something like that. So it's going to show up like this. So you got to click on add-ons, the add-ons tab, and then you got to go to install add-on from file. When you do that, it opens up your desktop folders. These are all your folders for your desktop computer or laptop computer. And then we're going to click this curly arrow to scroll through to get to where we have to find it. Or you can click over here. You can also drag this area down a little bit if you want, and drag this part down if you want. So now it opens up and reveals much more. You also can maximize the screen so you can see much more as to where your stuff is at. So we have one on the desktop. Yours should be on your desktop if you moved it, and there it is, mh_communities.zip. Now with Blender, Blender only allows you, in terms of add-ons, to add .py file types and .zip file types. So you have to have a zip folder or a Python script type folder. Python scripts are what the Blender developers write codes in. So all the codes will be in Python script. They'll either be placed into a zip folder or there will be single individual Python scripts. And you don't have to know Python in order to move them and to make them function. So keep that in mind. So now we're going to click this. We got mh_community.zip, and we're going to go to install add-on from file. So that's all you really have to do. Open that extracted zip folder, the first initial one, and then you go in and you find the mh_community.zip. Move it to your desktop, then you just click it here and go to install add-on from file, and boom, then it should automatically synchronize to your Blender preferences area of the add-ons. And then from there, you want to click this check mark because it's going to be unchecked. If you have it unchecked, I'll show y'all folks what happens. We're going to go hit the X, and you will not have any tabs over here if it's unchecked. So you want to go back to it if those tabs are missing, and click preferences again, go to add-ons, and then you're going to find the MakeHuman option here. It should be in that MakeHuman option, because that pops up once you get your tabs, or once you get your plugins on / add-ons, because they call it plugins, they call it add-ons, it's the same thing. Now this one is not working for some reason all of a sudden because I deselected it. It's all good. I'm going to get it working again, and maybe I have to remove it and add it back, whatever the case may be. Hopefully I didn't screw it up and get it where it's not working at all. But let's click refresh and try that again. That one's not working for some reason, and maybe I have to close down and shut down this socket over here. So we're gonna close that down, try it again. It's not working. Let's shut this down and then start it over from scratch. So it's all good. Like I said, don't sweat it. Some things are not going to work, some things are going to work, but that's pretty much it. Hopefully that helps y'all folks to get those particular tools on your computer that will work in conjunction with Blender. So now look at this, it came up and now it's tied in, and the reason why is because I didn't save it. So if you're trying to play around to showcase and show people how to make it work, don't save your preferences, or else you're going to screw yourself in the process. Obviously you saw that it screws it up if you try to deactivate it and then reactivate it. So don't click save preferences if you already got it running, pretty much. So there you go with that. Hopefully that information helps y'all folks. What I meant to say is don't save preferences after you deselect it. If you deselect it and you press save preferences, it will cause that error permanently. And I don't know if you can get it fixed, I'm not sure, but that looks like a glitch. You should be able to deactivate these if you wanted to and then reactivate them. But like I said, Blender 2.80 beta is in a beta phase. It's not 100%, it's not in a full release, and also the MakeHuman plugin isn't in a full release, is in the alpha version. So these are all alpha version stuff and beta version stuff. So don't get frustrated. Just make sure you don't click save preferences if you uncheck them after you had it activated for a while and you was using it. If you just get it started, obviously when you first check them, you want to click save preferences. To go as far as possible, starting out with Blender, now you got some character builds that you can work with through MakeHuman, and it's pretty amazing what you can do. So one little thing I'm going to show y'all folks before I end it. It looks like it's going on 30 minutes in this video, but this video is power packed for those who are brand new to Blender, who have no idea how to make things work, and also for those who are brand new to MakeHuman. So let's do a character build real quick. And I'm not going to tell you every little detail. I'm just going to do it so you can see what I have in store, what I'm trying to do. So maybe I want to create a character this size, this dimension, make him an African American or Asian, I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Caucasian, give it a little twist in between, maybe add a dosage of all three, and then go to gender. I can play around with all this, make it a female if I want to, so slide it to the left to make it a female. Throw this in there a little bit more, change geometries. Let's go with a mini dress, and then what we're gonna do, throw her some combat boots and throw her skirt. And then we want to go in, leave the eyes as high poly. Let's see with the hair, maybe throw in some hair, give her some hair, or a nice hairdo. I don't know, just playing around. Let me give her some teeth, and let's go with topology. Topology I'll talk about in other videos in the future, and most definitely on a video when I explain and break down every little detail. Let's give her some eyelashes. Usually I don't give eyelashes or eyebrows or whatever. I think this is eyebrows. I generally don't give eyelashes or eyebrows sometimes because you won't get it to work 100% the way that you want it in most of the software that's out there, and you have to struggle for putting on different nodes and things like that in terms of node connections if you want to do materials for it and try to get it to stand out and to display. So she doesn't look that spectacular, but it's all good. I'm not worried about it. This is just a rough draft. Now what I'm doing is putting on some skin. So you definitely want to find the female skin, and she looks kind of old. Let's see, we're gonna go in and change that part a little bit. Go to modeling, go to main, and change the age, and give her a little youth. And then what we'll do, she has a little mesh issues. You could fix that stuff on Blender. We're gonna change her pose. So let's go to pose. Let's see if this pose works for her. This might be a female pose as opposed to the male pose, and it does look like it works a little bit for her. And we will take that and send it to Blender. Before we do that, we're going to go with skeleton, set the skeleton to default, and I think that's great. So let's go to community. We'll do update list. We can play around with this so y'all folks see that it's all working, right? We can go to socket, click accept connections, leave that like that, and then we'll go out and we will click import human. And now she should import here, but if I import here now, it's going to be a tiny little small female. I'll show y'all folks anyway. So it's going to come in. That's what I showed in my previous video. I'm almost at 30 minutes and I'm going to end the session soon. It's going to say not responding, so now she's down there. You can see her down there. Let's go in. That was the meter size. Let's go to decimeter. We're going to throw an import again, and that will make her much larger size going up here. And then we'll throw in the centimeter one and go import, and you'll see she's going to come up very, very large into the view. There she is right there. So this particular one, like I said in the beginning, is good for Wakaru. If you are a Wakaru 3D character modeler or whatever, you want to create custom models for Wakaru, boom, that's the ideal size. So we're going to get rid of that one. We're going to go Control Z. We're going to back that out. And we also going to get rid of the small one, the tiny one there. Or we may just leave it there for shits and giggles. But now we have the character built in, got the actual armature, everything is set up, and she doesn't look too bad, obviously. What we're gonna do is go to shading, take off backface culling, and wow, that made her nude, which we don't want that. Instead, what we'll do, I'm trying to get rid of some imperfections that you see here. Let's take off the overlays and let's go to Eevee up here and then switch to cycles. In some future videos, I'll explain all the settings that I'm setting things up at. Let's go to shading and see what she looks like. And there you go. So now she's looking pretty decent. Really nice pose. Not too bad. And running in cycles at a 32 sample rate. So we can set this up to like 200. Make sure you change your CPU to GPU compute, so that way you don't crash your computer or freeze your computer. And other than that, now she's going for 200 cycles, so it's going to get rid of some of these little specks and dots and imperfections. Now what we want to do is add a little bit lighting, try to add that lighting in there. I just want to give y'all folks a finished product. So let's go with the lighting. We're going to check the lamp. I already have a lamp in here. Click the lamp, and then you got the options to change the properties here. And you can go in and you can use nodes if you want to, and then add some strength to it. And that's 14. Let's bring it down to about 9. And now we're going to rotate it and show y'all folks how the sun illuminates it and gives you a better look. And there you go. That's the sun emission. We can also put it at a point light, but with the point light you would have to move the light itself in position. So let's go to cursor. And now my 3D cursor is going to be placed somewhere over here. Let's go to overlays and try to get the 3D cursor in front of her, which is right there. The reason why I want to do that is because I'm going to bring in an actual lamp at that position. So we're going to go Shift A, and that will allow you to bring up a lamp or light. We're going to go with a point light at that spot, and we're going to drag it, but we have to change select box option to select. So we're going to hit the W key multiple times till you see select up there. Now you can pull this out and position it how you see fit. And now we'll roll back. Now we'll see her pose. And as you can see, the skeleton is there of the armature. You can hit overlays to make all that go away and let your samples run out all the way through. And now you're gonna have the ability to do a viewport render if you want to do that. And I talked about that in a previous video for viewport rendering and stuff like that, for actually helping people to understand the rendering options and tools that you have. So if y'all folks want to check that video, most definitely go for it. If you want more better quality pixels, just raise the sample rate. You got to go back to the render option over here where it says render. See, if you hover over these different tools, it tells you which one is what. This is the render and this is the render output. I'm not going to output it itself. I'm going to do a viewport render. So let's change this to about like 500. The benefits of doing this in cycles is that in the viewport, it's going to go from 200 and start to increase, and it won't refresh. It won't start over the actual sample rate. So you'll see when you hit enter, it starts from where you left off at, and then it starts to improve the quality of the pixels. I figured that out after just playing around with the render for a little while today, and that's why I wanted to show y'all folks that, which is pretty powerful stuff. So for those who are brand new to Blender, all you got to do is learn the viewport, learn how to manipulate in terms of moving stuff around, and learn the hotkeys, and you can get yourself to this point where you got a really awesome 3D model straight out of the gate where you didn't have to do much to it. You got it from the MakeHuman Community tool and software, which is pretty dope. So now I want to do a viewport render. If you want to do that, you go to View, and from View you're going to go down to Viewport Render. If you had an animation, you can do Viewport Render Animation. Side note, folks, the viewport render does not work on cycles the way it's supposed to work. It's working more on Eevee. So if you go to the viewport render on cycles and you try to render it, you'll see it's going to give you an actual render, but it's not going to work the way that you want it. This is actually in a different shader. So this shader here is the look dev. So you can get the look dev to work in cycles. When you go over to render, you're not going to get the render to work. You'll see. I'm just going to do 32 samples just to give y'all an example. So it's very, very low time in order to render it. So we're going to go to View and go to Viewport Render, and you'll see it turns black. And I don't know exactly the reason why it does that, but it blanks out the actual viewport. So you see there's nothing for me to display. The character outline is there. You can kind of see it, and you can see the background of the viewport where you see the grid, but that's about it. So if you want to use the viewport render, stick to Eevee because Eevee is the default renderer, and then make sure your lamp is adjusted down. So you're gonna have to downscale it. So we'll downscale it to about 15 or maybe to 12 or something like that. Actually, let's go back down to 10. Now the difference between the lamp of the point light and the sun obviously is going to radiate much more rays, right? So the sun is putting out way more rays, and it's not a direct impact. It's scattered everywhere, so the light is going to be everywhere, and that's the limitation of using the sunlight. If you switch to point light, then you can play around with the point like I talked about. So let's go to View, go to Viewport Render, and now you'll be able to see it over here. It renders really well. See that? But the problem that I'm having with Eevee for MakeHuman Community characters or models, 3D models, is that you see this kind of shadow effect, which is the back culling issue. So that's why I like to go to shading and then take off the back face culling and then do it. But the problem also with her is that it's taking off her actual shirt. So I don't want that to happen. So we're gonna go to View, hit the viewport render, and you'll see it's gonna work and come out, and those problems go away. So this is one of the solutions for some of the back face culling, but still it's gonna cause other issues as well. So you probably don't want to go with using the render viewport renderer type option, and instead you go to cycles and stick with just the regular cycles render. I mean, it's unfortunate that you have to go through all of that stuff, but hey, you're gonna have to wait until it renders out it may take a good amount of time to render out like 2,000 samples. So if you set it up at 2,000, like I showed in another video, I'll show y'all folks in a future video on the rendering side of things, it takes a while for the cycles to render. That's why they came up and created the Eevee game rendering engine type setup, so that you don't have to wait for the cycles forever, and instead you just get that to pop in really quick. But again, like, we have to get rid of that back face culling to get her clothes back. See that? And then we would go to cycles, and then the whole thing will be able to cycle through. See that? So that was just an additional tip to those who wanted to use the viewport renderer, which is one of the newer features in Blender 2.80 beta. So we're going to do that in the future, playing around with these MakeHuman models and see if we can get some animations running. So we're going to go to viewport render, and that should give you a pop-up. And if it doesn't work, for some reason it didn't work for me before, I don't know why, but let's X this out and see if that makes it work. And we'll do it one more time, and I think that's the screen that we should get rid of, which is the preferences screen. So now it should actually give you a viewport render, and I don't know why it's not giving it to me, but I should get a viewport render and I'm not getting it. Something's going wrong with the viewport rendering option, but it was giving it to me before. So what I just did now is hit the T key and N key to hide the different menus. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hit the print screen on my computer. And also what I'll try to do is render this into the actual render option here where it says rendering. It won't render it there yet until you adjust your camera and you put your camera in the right perspective view. So what I have to do is raise the camera's position down here, as you can see at the bottom of her. And so I'll click the camera, uncheck my overlay, and then move it up. So I actually have a 3D object that I had changed to a camera shape, so y'all folks can see the position of the camera in reference in respect to the actual 3D actor or 3D avatar character. So what I'm going to do is back up the camera in a very far position, because the camera with respect to her size is very small. So her sizing will determine where the camera is going to be referencing. So we're going to hit the 0 key just to zoom the camera in so you can see what the camera is taking a shot of. So hit the 0 key on the keyboard, and there you go. So this is what you're getting, and I'll be giving y'all folks some tutorials on how to better your camera positions and stuff like that. So now this will be what's going to render. Now if you want to change the background, you go to the world icon and just change this color right here at this very moment in time, and you can do that as you see fit. So I want a really nice dark background like that, maybe a little dark gray, and I'm going to change the cycles sample rate again, and this time I'm going to make it 1,000 so I can get a much better quality render. And whatever's in this rectangle here that you see is going to render out into the rendering option here, the render tab. As soon as I go to click F12 on my keyboard, or the render image option here, or render animation if it's an animation that I created. So there we go with that. Let's hit the overlays just to make it disappear, and then zoom in, and you can see what kind of quality you're going to get already. Now I shouldn't have done that because the sample rate had to refresh, but it still gives you an idea as to what you can get just playing around with your rendering tool. So now I'm just waiting for it to go to 1,000. It won't refresh the way that I showed y'all folks if you change the sample rate here and then go up, unless you don't move anything in your viewport. So if you move anything in your viewport, it's going to try to refresh it. So don't move it if you want to up the ante on your viewport sample rate. So a good example, let me just render first. Go to render image, and it should render out here. And that render is going to take some time. There it goes. It's going in, and it's going to try to put out the render samples based on what I have the sample rate set up for renders, as opposed to the viewport. So that's going to work that out. I'll minimize it. It should work out even though I minimized it. We'll see. See the rendering still rendering down here? So if you want to change that, you have to change that here, and it's actually set up for 128. So we'll set that up for 1000 and have that run in the future. We'll just hit enter and let it run in the future. But I believe it's already done, and you can take that to the bank if you want. Now in terms of using this particular render engine through cycles, I believe that you can print it out. You go to image and you go save as, and from there you can go to your renders if you want, or maybe your pictures if you have it in your picture folders or in your 3D objects folder. That's up to you. You can put it wherever you want to put it. I put mine in my 3D object folders and I put it in renders. So I created a renders folder, and then I'll call it whatever I want to call it. I'll call her Shine, right? And Shine 1, because I'm gonna do multiple versions of her, and then go to save as, and it will save this here. So you can go pick it up if you want. Let's go real quick. Sorry for making this video a lot longer, but I just wanted to give y'all folks who are brand new to Blender a bird's eye view as to the things that you can do. And this is all the stuff I learned within about 4 months time on Blender, since I started taking Blender seriously. Before that, I really didn't take it seriously. I did about 10 months ago. I found a video of what I did, which was I already had moved the character from MakeHuman onto Blender, but I wasn't doing too much with it. And I was also using Adobe Fuse. So Adobe Fuse, I was moving characters into Blender and manipulating them a little bit, but I didn't know how to use Blender the way I could use it now. It wasn't really a large-scale knowledge base on Blender. I really didn't know what the hell I was doing. Let's see. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna go and find that folder. So 3D modeling. Actually, it's not 3D modeling. It's in the 3D objects folder. We'll go to render, renders, and then from there we're gonna look for her. We can type in the S, single S, and then there goes hers right there. In a white area, you can type in a single letter and you can get to it faster. What we're gonna do now is go to open with, and we're gonna go to photos, just to check off of Windows Photos, just to see how she looks. And from that part, you'll see it's gonna pop in. It's gonna look pretty decent. I believe it looks really good. That's up to your viewers actually and your audience. Sometimes this stuff takes long, you know, depending on what type of software you're running stuff on. And what is what? All right, there it is. So that's her. That's her straight up from what y'all saw me do. Hopefully y'all liked it. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Smash that bell icon if y'all folks want to get more from what I have to offer. And other than that, I am out, and I hope you learned as much as possible on how to do these differing things as a Blender noob. If you're new to Blender, if you're already experienced, this probably is something that helped you review it if you haven't used MakeHuman in a long time. And other than that, that's all I got. Also, feel free to share my videos socially. If you feel this is going to impact people on other parts of the planet or anywhere, maybe somebody in your region who you wanted to send this to help them to figure out Blender and stuff like that. But most definitely for those who are brand new to get started, this will be perfect for them, because a lot of people don't know how to actually create a 3D model or a 3D model of a human, and they trying to figure it out and puzzle things together. Well, the MakeHuman community makes it quicker and easier for you, so you can move into game development, animation, and you can do a lot of other stuff. And that's all I got. I'm out of here. Peace. Mike Pugh, signing off.